Hello and welcome to Bust or Trust, a kids' mystery podcast. I'm Tiernan.
And I'm Athena. Bust or Trust is the podcast where we unravel the world's greatest mysteries with help from you, our chief detectives.
We present all the best evidence and then ask you to decide, which team are you on?
Are you a myth buster like me?
Or are you a myth truster like me? We look into all sorts of strange stories from around the world. No mystery is too big for us. Like, just why is the alphabet in that order?
Oh, you're just jealous your name doesn't begin with an A, so you're never first.
Well, that is true, but it also doesn't make sense.
Doesn't it? Imagine how rubbish the song would be in a different order.
Okay, F, Q, Z, R, M, and K, and P, and... Yeah, okay, you're totally right. Anyway, we'll tell you at the end of the show just how to get in touch, so you can let us know if you're on Team Buster, or the best one, Team Truster.
So, chief detectives, get ready to take notes and start putting together your case, while we have a quick word with the grown-ups.
The case.
This week, we are looking at Stonehenge, one of the world's most famous prehistoric structures. Even today, no one is quite sure why it was built.
Have you ever built a henge, Athena? You know, a big circular area with a ditch and a bank, either with stones or wooden posts around it?
No, and I wouldn't even know where to begin.
I reckon we could do a chair henge. There are quite a few chairs here at Bust or Trust HQ.
OK, but one, why would we build a henge? And two, again, why would we build a henge?
Well, one, because maybe, like Stonehenge, it will send a message to aliens. And two, C1. But also, no one builds henges anymore. You know some pop stars are very famous, so lots of people want to be pop stars.
Yeah, I'm not sure where you're going with this.
Well, Stonehenge is super famous, so why doesn't everyone try and build a henge to be famous too?
But the people who built Stonehenge aren't famous. In fact, no one knows who did it.
You're right. The stones are famous, not the people who made them. OK, I'm going to think about this. You tell the chief detectives what we know about Stonehenge, while I make some plans.
I'm not sure I like the sound of that, but sure. Stonehenge is one of the most famous landmarks in Britain and is protected by the Ancient Monuments Act and UNESCO World Heritage. Stonehenge is what's known as a megalithic structure, which is a kind of prehistoric monument. The huge ring of 93 stones stands on Salisbury Plain in Wiltshire. It has one outer ring of 13-foot-high stones and then an inner ring of smaller stones, some standing and some lying on their side. Archaeologists believe that it was built gradually over a long period starting around 5,000 years ago.
The stones are set up so that on the first day of summer, the sunrise lines up with them, and on the first day of winter, the sunset lines up with them too. Many people gather there for both events, and there are many theories and suggestions that Stonehenge was some sort of prehistoric calendar. But others suggest it was a burial ground, a model of the solar system, or even a landing pad for alien visitors.
One thing is for sure. There are still a lot of questions about Stonehenge that have not been answered, which is why this week it's up to you, chief detectives, to solve the case.
Was Stonehenge built by magical or paranormal forces?
Or was there a very sensible reason someone placed 93 very, very heavy stones in this exact location, in this exact pattern?
Over to the first rock-steady piece of evidence.
First piece of evidence.
The first piece of evidence is that archaeologists and historians still aren't entirely sure who built Stonehenge. However, there are a few ancient stories that might help to explain it. One is about the stone that is just slightly northeast of Stonehenge, leaning in towards it. It's known as the heel stone, Friar's Heel, or Sunstone. A folktale explains that the devil brought the stones from a woman in Ireland, wrapped them up and brought them to Salisbury Plain. One of the stones fell into the river Avon, the rest were carried to the plain. The devil then cried out, "No one will ever find out how these stones came here." A friar replied, "That's what you think," whereupon the devil threw one of the stones at him and struck him on the heel. The stone stuck in the ground and is still there. According to that tale, all the stones in Stonehenge were brought by the devil from Ireland.
Ooh, how much do you think he paid for them?
Good question. How many pounds are in a stone again? It'll be that much, I reckon. Another text that we've mentioned before on Bust or Trust gives a different tale. A 12th century writer called Geoffrey of Monmouth put in his book, History of the Kings of Britain, that the stones of Stonehenge were put there by a very well-known wizard. Geoffrey of Monmouth said the stones were healing stones carried from Africa to Ireland by giants. They'd been put into a circle known as the Giant's Ring on a place called Mount Killarhouse. The British king wanted a memorial to the soldiers that died in a recent battle, and Merlin the wizard told him that he should use the Giant's Ring. So, Uther Pendragon, King Arthur's father, took 15,000 men to Ireland to get it. They defeated the Irish warriors, but the stones were too heavy to move. So, Merlin used magic to help transport the stones to England and stand them up in the same Giant's Ring shape. There you have it. 2 suggestions there that the stones of Stonehenge may have travelled by some sort of supernatural or magical force.
Well, actually, even though the Merlin story is clearly just fun, especially since our chief detectives have already found out in a previous episode that King Arthur wasn't a real person, we busted that one.
Or he was real.
He probably wasn't, though. An archaeologist called Mike Parker Pearson says there might be a tiny grain of truth to the King Arthur tale, because it looks like the inner circle blue stones came from a stone circle on the north coast of Wales.
But that still isn't Ireland, so it's not the same at all, is it? Unless Merlin got them to Wales first and then England.
I think maybe Mike Parker Pearson was just being nice to King Arthur fans. While archaeologists and historians don't know exactly who built Stonehenge, they do have a pretty good idea. They think the outer ring of stones was built around 3100 BC. Scientists use a method called carbon dating to figure out how long ago something was alive by measuring the carbon in it. Carbon is a key element in all living things and many objects we use, like pencils and plastic. When something dies, its carbon slowly changes into a different form. So, by checking how much of the original carbon is left, scientists can estimate when it was last alive. For example, in 1920, excavations uncovered cremated human bones near some of the ancient stones in Stonehenge. When scientists tested these bones in 2013, they could accurately determine the time period they came from. The second stage of Stonehenge, which is believed to be the fitting of a large wooden structure around the centre, was built between 2900 BC and 2600 BC. Scientists figured this out by using carbon dating on wooden posts and pottery they found in the ground. They also know that the last part was finished around 2500 BC because they found burnt hazelnuts, meat and fruit, which were probably eaten in celebration when the stone circle was completed. Animal bones were also found, and by looking at where all these fruits, bones, meats and nuts had come from, scientists believe Stonehenge brought people together from all over Wales and the west of England. Many came to build it, and many others just came to visit. It even looks like there was a kind of prehistoric visitor centre at a settlement called Blickmead, where it seems many people stayed. And the River Avon would have been one of the main ways people travelled there too. Very recently, DNA of early Bronze Age people buried near Stonehenge has revealed they came from all over the country, and some even from continental Europe.
See, I think maybe they're all visiting because they heard a wizard or the devil made a cool stone structure. No?
No.
Well, the second piece of evidence shows some sort of powerful otherworldly force must have been involved in building Stonehenge.
Second piece of evidence.
The second piece of evidence is that no one knows for sure where the stones came from or how they were transported to Stonehenge. Each stone in the circle weighs 50 tons. That's the same as 7 elephants. That would take a lot of people to lift one, if that was even possible. In 3100 BC, they wouldn't have had sturdy enough water transport to get those stones along the River Avon. So just how did they do it? In his popular 1968 book Chariots of the Gods, Swiss writer Erich von Däniken suggested that Stonehenge might have been built by ancient aliens as a place to land if they ever came back to Earth. So Stonehenge could be an alien launchpad because if it wasn't Merlin's magic or the devil carrying them, how else could you explain these huge stones getting to where they are?
Well, it turns out they had some pretty amazing methods of transporting huge stones even back in prehistoric times. One possibility is that they were moved using sledges and ropes. Scientists have calculated that it would have taken 500 people using leather ropes to pull one stone, with another 100 people in front to lay down wooden rollers to help move the stones along. Another theory suggests giant wicker baskets were made around the stones so they could roll along while being pulled by several cows. Some of the stones at Stonehenge are believed to come from just 15 miles away, but many others were transported from as far as 140 miles away on the west coast of Wales, which is quite a distance. Welsh scientist Brian John suggests that a massive glacier from the Ice Age 500,000 years ago may have picked up these stones and moved them into England, eventually depositing them near Salisbury as it melted. Then, in 2013, another team of archaeologists confirmed that the ancient route to Stonehenge was built on an Ice Age platform that naturally ran along a solar axis. So, to put it another way, the way people travelled to Stonehenge was along a path created by the water from melting glaciers of the Ice Age, and that made a route that naturally followed the sun setting and rising. It's called the Avenue, and it goes for 1.5 miles from the entrance of Stonehenge all the way to the nearby town of West Amesbury. So, it's very likely this path is what persuaded the Stone Age people to put the standing stones where they are, so they could easily align with the solar axis. And that also backs up the idea that it was used as a calendar and a place of sun worship. So no, it wasn't aliens.
But no one is sure if any one of those theories is definitely correct, so that still could mean it was none of them and the stones were just moved by aliens. Or at least, as you'll see in piece of evidence number 3, if it wasn't built by strange forces, maybe it was to communicate with them or be used by them instead.
Third piece of evidence.
The final piece of evidence is that no one knows exactly what Stonehenge was meant to be. So it could be an alien landing pad or anything else. In the 17th century, an antiquary named John Aubrey, who studied things from the past, thought Stonehenge was a Druid temple. A Druid temple was a special place where ancient Druids, wise people of their time, gathered to celebrate nature and perform their ceremonies. Another 18th century antiquary, William Stukeley, claimed that Stonehenge was aligned with the magnetic north and therefore must have been used for mystical purposes. In 1906, an astronomer called Joseph Lockyer was certain that Stonehenge was a giant astronomical observatory for tracking the stars or possibly alien life too. In 1966, another astronomer, Gerald Hawkins, believed that Stonehenge might have been an ancient tool used to predict when planets would align and when eclipses would occur. And in 2007, 2 archaeologists suggested that Stonehenge was built as a healing centre, with visitors believing the property of the stones could fix any illness or injuries. So really, if no one can agree to this day what Stonehenge was supposed to be, then perhaps it was built for some otherworldly or paranormal reasons that we just can't even fathom.
The biggest mystery about Stonehenge is that we still don't know what it was used for or what it is meant to be. People have found broken bowls and signs of big feasts at Stonehenge, which suggest it was used for special ceremonies. Plus, the way the stones line up with the sunrise and sunset on important days shows that it might have been built to honour the sun or moon. Professor Timothy Darville at Bournemouth University says his research shows it was definitely a prehistoric calendar used to track days, weeks, and months of the year. He thinks it might have been inspired by similar solar calendars from the Mediterranean region that were built around the same time.
Odd then that we don't see team meeting 6 p.m. Wednesday or cinema with Andy 8 p.m. chiselled into any of the stones.
It might have been very hard going to the cinema several thousand years before it was invented. But maybe it was just some sort of entertainment space as well. We just don't know.
I really do wonder, after all these theories, if there's a really obvious use for Stonehenge that we just haven't thought of yet. You are joining us here at the 17th Annual Prehistoric Games, and we are at the dawn, literally, as the sun has just started to rise, of a brand new game.
I am so excited about this, Stuart. I think it's going to be quite a spectator sport, and I think, yes, the field is now all set up, and honestly, I've never seen anything quite so magnificent.
We are about to witness the first round of the first ever international game of giant bowling. Sue, can you explain to me what we're seeing here?
Of course, Stuart. There's 93 stone pins lined up at the end of a lane, which I have to say is a really imaginative use of an Ice Age path right there.
Yes, it really is. And credit to the imaginative mind of Arak, the designer, for that.
Then, of course, if you follow the path 60 miles north, you will find Gaoth the contender with what looks like an absolutely enormous stone ball.
Yes, I believe it is at least 27 feet tall, and I really can't wait to watch it fly. What can we expect here, Sue? How exactly is Gaoth going to launch it when it's such a heavy stone ball? He can't possibly move that by himself.
Well, Stuart, he's sitting on a throne above a team of 15 cows, and when the whistle blows, they will charge into the ball, which will give it a mighty shove, rolling it down the hill, across the country, and hopefully getting him a perfect strike of all 93 stone pins.
Just phenomenal. I can see Gaoth getting chalk on his hands, so we must be about to go right now.
Any second now.
And we're off! Look at those cows charge!
It looks like they're really going to give that ball a swift thwack.
And that ball is on an amazing trajectory. Gaoth is looking very pleased with that.
Indeed he is, but we just have to wait and see. The ball is now rolling through the Cotswolds and straight through Cirencester as planned.
Oh, I think it may have hit a bit more livestock than planned. Hopefully it'll keep rolling straight ahead as it is on target.
Reports here, Stuart, are that it's turning. It's turning just slightly more east than it should, which will, of course, be devastating for Gaoth, hailing from the Gaelic settlement near Paisley.
I'm sure the crowds back home are rooting for him, or they will be when they find out about this match in 2 to 3 weeks' time. And oof! The stone ball has completely missed the pins and is instead heading towards the South Downs at an incredible speed and... was that the sea, Sue?
I'm afraid it was, Stuart.
Well, what a shame, but what a performance from Gaoth and his cows. Just imagine, Sue, I'm pretty sure he'll be a coal medal contender by the next games.
Probably not, Stuart, as it will take at least 500 years to carve another ball and get it up that hill.
Well, I hope his great-grandchildren are ready for quite the legacy.
Indeed, Stuart, indeed. Now, if you hit that wooden button, you can switch over just in time for the beginning of the Woolly Mammoth Dressage Contest. Tiernan, Stonehenge can't be a prehistoric giant bowling arena.
Why not?
Well, no one has discovered the shoe exchange bit. Every bowling alley has one, and I assume in prehistoric times you'd have to swap your saber-toothed tiger fur boots for those stripy bowling shoes, or you wouldn't be allowed to play.
That is true. You know who always gets a perfect strike though, Athena? That's right, our chief detectives. And now it's time for you to decide.
Was Stonehenge built by magical and strange beings, or was it all made by people who just loved the sunshine and knowing which day of the week was which?
Time to recap the evidence.
Evidence recap.
The first piece of evidence is that no one knows who built Stonehenge. There are old stories that the stones were carried from Ireland by the devil or transported using magic by Merlin the wizard.
But scientific and archaeological research shows that it was likely made by many, many people from all over Wales and Western England. Carbon dating has helped scientists work out that it was built in stages over many years, starting in 3100 BC.
The second piece of evidence is that no one really knows how anyone transported the stones, as each one weighed the same as 7 elephants, meaning magic or otherworldly forces must have done it.
Research has shown that people could have transported the stones in a number of ways, either lots of people pulling them on a sled while others put log rollers in front, or maybe wrapped in wicker and pulled along by cows. But whatever it was definitely done by people.
The final piece of evidence is that still no one can work out what Stonehenge was built for, meaning it could have been a healing circle or an alien launch pad.
But all evidence found at the site so far suggests it was a place for worshipping the sun. Professor Timothy Darville at Bournemouth University says it was almost certainly a prehistoric calendar to mark days, weeks, and months of the year.
So now we're handing it over to you, Chief Detectives.
What do you think? Are you a Stonehenge myth buster?
Or a Stonehenge myth truster? Get in touch and let us know your thoughts, and most importantly, which side you're on. I think the stone-cold sensible choice here is Team Truster.
I'm pretty sure your argument will crumble like old rocks. Team Buster all the way. Send us your voice notes with an explanation of why you're a myth truster or myth buster when it comes to whether Stonehenge was built by magical or paranormal forces, or if it's just someone's ancient calendar design.
All you have to do is ask your grown-ups to help you email us your voice notes or thoughts to hello@bustortrust.com.
Tell us your name, age, what you think all the evidence means, and please make sure your grown-ups give us permission to use your voice notes or emails in our next episode.
You can also send us a question on Spotify Q&A, but please get permission from your parents and don't include any personal details so we can publish them safely. We won't always be able to use all of them.
But we do love to hear them, and here are some thoughts from you lot, our chief detectives, on the last few episodes.
Hi, my name is Zachary Nitek, and I am from London. I'm 7 years old, and I think I'm a myth truster from the story of the ghost of Drury Lane, because all of the people have described the ghost very clearly, and the man in grey has been known to wear clothes a lot, so they would all have definitely seen him. And the two people that were watching TV in the dressing room, and when the ghost changed the channel, and when they first mentioned that it might have been a ghost, the ghost could have changed the channel again, but it might have not been someone standing out the door or outside on the balcony, because the TV might have not had a remote control, because it was the olden days, and in the olden days they had box TVs that had buttons on the edge.
Hi Zach, thanks so much for your message, and I'm thrilled to hear that you've listened to every bit of evidence and made up your own mind. I'd like to make an argument for the TV having a remote control, though. It had a remote control. I'd have to go back to my research notes to confirm that, but I'm pretty sure there was a remote control.
Hey, Athena, I just have to say, it sounds like Zach was high-speed racing somewhere, possibly to be chief detective for a different case somewhere else, and so clearly I think he knows what he's doing. He's obviously an expert.
Very much so. I feel like I've never felt more interrogated. CJ left a message via our Spotify Q&A on the episode about the Lizard Man. Hi, I go by CJ and I am a truster on the Lizard Man of Scape or Swamp because the damage on Christopher's car is not from Father Elmore. Sorry, Athena, you're cheese, and my cousin says you're a mandarin. It was going so well until the end. But I guess I'm cheese because cheese isn't nice.
Betty has left us a message on our Spotify Q&A about our episode on the Jumping Church of Kildamock saying, trust. Sorry, Athena, but I'm a truster for this because if a storm moves something, it either becomes weak or gets broken. I am 10 years old and love your podcast. I'm a buster on the rest. Please read next episode. Well, we have, Betty. We've read next episode, and I can't believe you're a buster on all the rest, but well done for being a truster on the Jumping Church. Very sensible.
Thanks to all of you. We make a brilliant team.
The very best team. And if you enjoyed the show, please follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify or Amazon Music, or wherever you listen to your podcasts for more great episodes. We love to hear what you think, so please do rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It helps more detectives find Bust or Trust. And of course, we'll read out some of them on the show.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time for more Bust or Trust.
Athena, I figured it out.
Figured what out?
How to make a henge and become famous for it. See?
Oh no. Is that a giant image of our faces on that very, very large stone?
Yep it is. So everyone will know it's the official Bust or Trust henge.
Well, at least it has an immediate mystery about it.
Has it? What's that?
Why on earth anyone would do something like that in the first place?
You don't think I should have got 93 of them made like that then? Maybe don't check downstairs.
What? Why?